Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking, events occur, and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.
Well, welcome back. We will be dissecting some of the challenges that African women face while trying to make a living for themselves as immigrants in foreign countries. We're talking challenges of immigrant African women, especially in Canada. Our guest joins us via Zoom. She's Chidima Ejom. She's a storyteller and a consultant. Good morning, Chidima from Nigeria. I hope you can hear us clearly.
Yeah, I can now. Good morning. How you doing?
Great, and thank you for joining us this morning. All right, so you do understand what Japa syndrome is all about. Everybody wants to relocate, but then we want to talk about how particularly challenging it is for the women. So what is your story? How has it been for you as an African, as a woman, and as an immigrant?
Okay, so first off, I would like to say thank you for the opportunity to hear our stories, because at the end of the day, it's about amplifying our stories, celebrating it, and as well documenting it. So I immigrated in 2023, and well, it's been up and down. I won't really say it's all been full of challenges. There have been victories which we've celebrated, but then indeed there have been challenges. So some of the challenges I personally have faced would be having to deal with some pivotal changes. As they say, change is the only constant thing, but then you don't know the extent of these changes until you experience them yourself. For instance, for me, I'd say one of the change that has been a little bit difficult to navigate would be the change of having to do it on your own compared to back home where you have a community. You have your brothers, you have your sisters, you have your mom, your dad, you have a community of aunties, of grandparents who step into the whole picture for you when you need some help. It's not that way here. And being a mom of young children, being a wife, being a woman who also wants to make something for herself, it's, I'd say, one of the most difficult place to be as an immigrant. You want to get back into your career. You don't want to see it go to waste. You don't want to live forever in survival job. You want the best for your children. You want to be there for your husband. And then there are still responsibilities from back home. You want to be there for your mom, your dad, your siblings. You just want to make life be what life should be. I'd say that is, for me, the toughest challenge I have experienced. For other aspects, yes, we know the challenge of isolation, the challenge of identity, which is also another important thing. Just like I was interviewing someone some time ago, and she said, back in Nigeria, I didn't know I was Black. I have always known I was Black, but when I got to Canada, it dawned on me that I'm indeed Black. So we have that issue of identity, and if not navigated properly, could lead to depression and other issues one should never experience. And then we also have the issue of career barriers. So when you come to a new land, it's more like you're starting afresh. You're starting from the basics. No matter how far you've gotten, 90% of the time, you are scraping all of those and you're starting. And that alone could be mentally challenging. It could be psychologically stressful. So I think before anybody jackpass, permit me to use the word, you just have to be mentally prepared for the unknown. It's like stepping into a void and you don't know what will be, but being prepared mentally, being prepared psychologically, being prepared in terms of a community that you can always run to in terms of an anchor, spiritual anchor, tends to make the journey just a tiny bit easier. Tiny bit easier. I'm not saying easier, just a tiny bit easier. So
All right, I heard all you said. Especially what struck me was your explanation of the identity issue, and of course, you did mention, well, rather covertly, something about racism. And but how do you deal, with racism, when you said you had an interview and someone didn't know that she was black up until she came to Canada? How were you able to navigate racism? Because it cuts across, whether in the workplace or elsewhere. You see those racist behaviors play out. So how were you able to navigate it as a woman? And again, does it affect women differently from the way it affects men?
well, if we're talking about racism, I personally won't say it affects women differently from the way it affects men. If we're talking about gender bias, yeah, I might understand that. But for racism, I don't think so. I think it affects everybody equally. The only thing is this: for me, I at some point I did experience my own fair share of racism, but it got to a point I had to tell myself that, look, Chidima, it's not about you. For me, when I'm dealing with anyone, I don't see color. I see a human being because first, I'm a human being before an African, before I'm a woman first and then a human being. So when I'm dealing with anyone, that is what I put at the center of whatever my dealings, whatever it is I want to do. But then there are people who don't know better, who possibly because of their upbringing, because of the community, because of their friends, because of orientation. So for me, I have just gotten to that stage in my life where I say, look, you just have to realize that it's not about you. And so you don't have to punish yourself for some other person needs them more, in the sense that this person doesn't know better. It's just like take, and this is not to try to small talk anyone. It's just me giving an instance. You who are a PhD holder who know better, you've gone through a lot of researches, you've met people, you've written papers, and then you meet someone who just went to primary school. In as much as, yes, we have common sense, you don't expect the reasoning to be alike because educationally, it's a long walk. So when I meet people who are racist, some of them come off as very educated people, yes, but it's still for me small-mindedness. It's still the fact that your mind is not advanced enough to realize and recognize that it's just mere color. It's just mere color. There is nothing to it aside the fact that it's mere color. And so if you base on the fact that this is color and then you think that someone is superior or inferior, then it shows me the quality of your mindset. And as a result, for me, I take it in my stride and I do what I keep it moving. But then I have been able to say, okay, fine, this is not about me. I am seeing a human being. You are seeing a billboard of color. No, it's not about me. So that way, it has been able to help me process it. In fact, I'd say process it with empathy, process it with an understanding, and, not feel angry, not feel pissed, not feel. So, yes, I'm protecting my mental health, and I'm also processing all of the happenings with a reasonable level of sanity. So I'm not allowing anybody come into my life and mess my day up simply because the person doesn't know better.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about family dynamics. There's this trend that when most African women, when they go over to the West with their families, they jettison their responsibilities, and probably throws the man out of the house and decides to live her life her way. Now, is this trend really true? And could you paint a picture of what really is obtainable over there for African women and their families?
Well, first off, I would say that it's not 100% true. Indeed, that they say that in every rumor there might be iota of truth, but for me, I'm living here, and whatever experience I'd give from my own perspective. And what I would say is this: for women, it's not easy. It's not a walk in the park, considering the kind of community we're coming from back home. You know, the community, whether we like it or not, we're coming from a highly patriarchal community. But then when we come here, for me, I'd say change is the only constant thing. And it gets interesting how you're able to navigate change. So the community is expecting the woman to come into a new place and remain as she is. Meanwhile, the question should be, how is the woman and how is the man working together to navigate this change? So you don't come into a place like abroad, and I would speak for men and I'll speak for women because it's been an ongoing debate. For instance, I have been opportune to meet some women who come here and they say things like, me, I cannot help any man financially. Oh." And I have met some men who come here and they are like, while with my wife or while with my fiance, my girlfriend, leave all of the financial burden to me because this place, when it comes to bills, when it comes to financial expectations, it is not easy. And so for me, I usually feel like, why will you leave all of those to a man? But then this is where it gets interesting also. What is expected of the man? Because even the Bible says two cannot work together unless they agree. So when you're coming abroad, you understand that, look, I just have you, and you just have me, alongside our kids, of course. So how are we going to make this work? So if in Nigeria, the man doesn't do any chores, the man 100% takes care of the bills, massive respect to him. But when we come here, change is expected on the side of the woman and on the side of the man, in the sense that, okay, baby, we have shifts. How are we going to make this work? What's your schedule like? What's my schedule like? Okay, this week I'll do the school runs. I know my shift will start around maybe 12. I'll do the school runs. You go ahead and do your shift. Because the woman is cooking. She's thinking of what to cook, which on its own is a lot of work. I didn't understand what my mom was going through then when we were growing up, when she said, I don't even know what I'll cook today. Because the thinking of what to cook is a lot of work. We have chores, you're doing laundry. So it takes a kind man to be able to say, okay, you know what, I'll help with the laundry. You keep on cooking. I'll take the kids to school. You go grocery shopping. I'll go grocery shopping. What do you want to do? And even sometimes say, look, my sweetheart, you've gone through a lot. You know what will happen? Just take the day off. But then when you expect the woman to contribute financially, and then you leave all of the chores to her, you leave all of the bulk of children upbringing to her, school runs. Look, at some point, not everybody is very expressive, and it depends also on the dynamics of the family from back home. So if you have a woman who is very expressive, who doesn't want anything messing with her mental health, she shouts out for help. She starts talking. She's like, look, I'm going through a lot of stress. I don't know what is happening. I'm tired. And then you guys can work it through. But there are some women who are not that way, who don't know how to express themselves that way. Men are like too, because it's a personal thing. And so at that point, you know, she starts harboring these things in her heart. She starts, and before you know it, she explodes. And once she does, it becomes a mess. But then there would have been pointers before it gets there. And you know, when people say women, 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 there are men also who come here, and I have examples. There are men who come here and they say, hey, I don't want to be married to you anymore. And they keep it moving. But you know, it's not covered as much as women when women say, look, I'm tired of this. I can't do it anymore. So at the end of the day, I don't 100% agree with the fact that women come here and they jettison their responsibility. Because when you say jettison their responsibility, what do you mean by jettison their responsibility? What is their responsibility? They've jettisoned. I think the appropriate question should be, what is happening to marriages? What are the issues? How do we, orient people who are coming abroad to navigate these critical changes that could make or break your marriage? So, if we're able to start asking these questions, if we're able to start preparing minds of women and men, especially men, I'd say, because abroad is not Nigeria, where the woman can call her sister to come and help her go to the market, where she has two housemaids that are taking care of the children. No, abroad, this woman comes, she comes down, she's doing everything. So, how can you be kind enough to say, okay, I know it's a lot on your table. How do we navigate these tough times together? So, if we start asking some of those very critical questions, I think we'll begin to see some changes. It would be unfair to just dive in with a stereotype, with already preconceived notions and feel like it's true. So on that topic, this is what I have to say.
All right, interesting conversation so far. I want to pull it over to the other side. We did discuss the issues concerning the women as per their challenges in marriage. Let's talk about the men a bit too. So over here we also hear news trends of men killing their wives, especially Nigerian men, killing their wives. Of course, men from other African countries. What's the trend like in Canada, or are we asking the wrong questions? Just paint the picture as clearly as you can.
Well, for me, I've heard about some of those happenings in the US. I haven't really heard here in Canada. And it of course doesn't take any water away from the fact that these occurrences are true and they are painfully true. But then, before it gets to the point of a man picking a gun, a knife, or whatever he or he wants to use to kill someone he says he loves, a whole lot has gone wrong. And then it brings me back to what it is, the inability to navigate change. Yes, we come here and we believe that we're coming for the best. But look, it's life. Some turns could be unexpected and they could be unpleasant. It is now your ability to process some of these things that matters. So it should never get to the level where you have to pick up an arm against someone who you once loved. And yes, I would also use this occasion to point out to women, because that also happens, where we have women who come here and for one reason or the other, sometimes these issues don't even start abroad. These issues don't start abroad. Sometimes these issues emanate here there in Nigeria, and then they manage it and manage it and manage it. As much as abroad could be very porous and could make or break a marriage, I would say most of the marriages abroad breaks already have a crack in them back in Nigeria before they came abroad, and so they were just managing it. For instance, a man could be a serial cheat back in Nigeria, and the woman is just patching and patching. And then the woman is like, you know what? This is abroad. I can work now. I can make my money. I'm not 100% dependent on the man. I think I'm done with this bullshit. And then a man can come here and say, you know what? I've met the love of my life. I don't want to be with her again. Yeah, we came here together. And then sometimes men would say things like, I sponsored her and she came here. There are a lot of women who sponsor men here as well. So it's not a one size fits all cap. It's not a one size fits all kind of question. At the end of the day, it's still very personal. So this is my own way of saying it should never get to the point where you kill someone. If it's no longer working, yeah, it's a tough place to be. It's a painful realization to come to, but it's one you just have to accept and keep it moving. So this is no to violence, domestic violence, no to premature death, no to having to. For heaven's sakes, how do you get from I love you, so I kill you? To me, it's not a nice place to be, honestly. So
I agree 100%, Chidima. But before we let you go, there's also another trend which I want you to speak to, where men actually look out for women in a particular discipline. So when they come over there, they become, in quotes, what they call ATM. Now, how would you speak to this trend, and how would you advise women going forward? In 2 minutes, because we've run out of time.
well, for me, I'd say it's a trend, and it's happening because when we come here, that industry is in high demand. But for the women, I'd say, look, before we know ourselves, when something is true, we know when a man loves you genuinely, no matter how you wanna lie to yourself, you know. When a man doesn't love you, you know. So as much as, and this is what I would say is, if you know you don't like a man, as my dad would say then, don't take anything from him. Don't say you want to use the opportunity to run away from Nigeria, or you want to leave Nigeria, and then you just be like, okay, if you know you like him and he wants to sponsor you, good. But if you know you don't like him, please. But sometimes you like him and or you love him, and then you come here and you realize what it was, then it's up to you. It's a personal question. It's now up to you to know what you want to do. And in doing so, do it as honestly as you can. You know, talk to the family, do your own part. Make sure that if it's our people in Igbo, they will say Iwe Jirogi. So on that note, I think I don't want to take so much of your time, as you said.
We actually enjoy listening to you, Chidima. Thank you so much, Chidima Ejom, storyteller, consultant. Thank you so much for your deep insight into the subject
It's my
matter.
pleasure. It's my pleasure. Thank you so
And we do
much. Have
wish
a
you the
good.
best of luck with that.
Yeah, thank you. I need all
Yes.
of those. So thank you very much.
Still more to come on New Day. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us.
Every second, every minute, every day, news is breaking. Events occur and there are new developments. At Signature TV, we follow these stories objectively, bringing all sides without bias, explaining the complex issues, breaking down the numbers, and investigating the issues behind the news. Anywhere and everywhere, near or far, wherever the news is, we will be there. Signature TV. News in your pocket.